We are now letting you into the world of private music. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Cory.
And this week, we are going to be taking a dive into the latest album from the Deftones, which is called Private Music, named after a folder on their computer. They just named the album after that, which I thought was pretty cool. We haven't discussed this band before. Cory chose this one, and I decided to look into it a bit more. And honestly, I thought they were a much newer band than they actually are. Like, I thought they'd only come up in like the past decade or so, because that was when I'd first heard of them. I did not know that they dated back to the 90s. I was very surprised. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I feel like there's a lot of songs out there that people know that don't know that it's a Deftones song, especially from like that 90s radio era. There's a lot of Deftones fans that don't even realize they're Deftones fans. Hey, you know what? I'm not even going to front. I'm one of them. I remember seeing Deftones live for the first time and being like, oh my gosh, that's a Deftones song. So it's one of those, but they always do a good job. They are, and we'll talk about it throughout this evening, but they are definitely some tried and true musicians, to say the least.
Yes, especially at this point in the game. But what's pretty interesting is it's been argued they're now at the peak of their popularity, which is, I mean, that's impressive for a band whose first album came out in 1995.
Yeah, that's a really cool point too, because their sound, I feel like, is more accepted now or more recently than it was before. I'll agree with that. I even see younger cats all the time talking about Deftones, or see like the Deftones sticker on people's car. We had a girl we used to work with that I was surprised because of her age that she was a Deftones fan.
Are you talking about
And that speaks there.
Sabria?
I am indeed.
I knew it. There's a thing I was told about called Airbuds, where you can see what people you know are listening to, and I'm friends with her on that. And I saw her listen to the songs on this album.
Heard that. I thought about her when we booted this album up. I was like, I got to get up with Sabs, because
She's
I
one I
wonder her
run
opinion.
into from time to time. She's good people.
Always good people. Always good people. But
Do you
yeah,
like?
a younger crowd coming up on Deftones. That's super cool.
Yeah, there has been, and I mean, this is their 10th studio album, and it actually is the longest wait for a Deftones album, because their last album
Yeah.
came out in 2020, so 5 years is the longest hiatus for a Deftones album. But that makes sense, considering 2020 was an unprecedented time with COVID, and their tour was delayed a couple of times, as many tours were, so it's not surprising that we had to wait a bit longer for this one. But so far, it seems to have been worth the wait for many. It's been very well received. It's got a 91 score on Metacritic. That's got to be one of the highest of the year.
Yeah, and I love that. And we're going to touch more on why I love that, but it's just great. I don't know if this album, maybe it's just me, but I didn't feel like this album was as approachable as the Metacritic score that it got. And I think that's awesome. I think that speaks to the listening ears of the day now. And again, going back to them being in their peak, in their prime, so to speak.
I mean, yeah, they were in Baltimore not too long ago. I didn't go to the show, but on my way to something else, I did see the crowd out there. I'm guessing it was a sold out show, and there was a good crowd of people outside waiting for it.
Heck yeah. Last time I saw these guys was in Philadelphia, probably about 6-7 years ago. Phenomenal show. I've seen them 3 times. Every time. Such an awesome show.
Yeah. But I mean, for context as to where the Deftones are now, maybe this isn't the best comparison, but I think it kind of makes sense. Our arena's not the biggest, but they're able to sell out the arena as quickly as Katy Perry, who, that's how I'll put it. It's like they were playing the same to a similar crowd as a pop stars such as that, and they're an alternative metal band.
Yeah.
So it's, as I said, these are unprecedented times too, when the for more reasons than this, but it does show we're at a unique spot with them. And this album debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200, which that's very impressive for them at this point in their career. And remember, it's not a pop or hip hop band.
Yeah, I was gonna say for a metal band period or an alternative metal band period for 5 on the Billboard is it's up there.
Yeah, it's a feat. I completely agree with that. And I did say at the end of our last episode that I would be diving in a bit to the band, and I really actually didn't even know the biggest Deftones hits.
Really?
Yeah, I went in very blind.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, or deaf more so. Completely deaf to this band would make more sense because I hadn't heard anything. Like I was thinking, like, would I have recognized something? I didn't.
How? That's why what did you find any gems?
I really am a big fan now of the song Sex Tape. That one was added to my library.
Heck yeah.
And this isn't my go to genre, so that's something. But I did notice a progression in the sound from what I listened to from different eras. And I did note that the early stuff didn't speak to me much. I think it was maybe a little too new metal adjacent. And that really isn't my thing. Like, I'm not a Limp Bizkit or Corn person at all. So I feel like it was maybe a bit too close to that. But some of the more mid-period stuff, like the song Sex Tape, for instance, I was like, I really like that song in particular. It's actually not as raunchy as it sounds.
Heard. Agreed,
Actually, I just
agreed.
want to make that clear, Mom. Not as raunchy as it sounds.
Not at all what you would think.
No, I was pretty surprised by it. So that was the song that spoke the most to me, but I that from the palette that I got. That wasn't off of this album, because of course we're gonna do what we do here and dive on into this one.
Yeah, man. Breaking it down. I'm excited to get in this.
Yeah, and it's 11 tracks, and I'm really I have to say the way things have been going lately, I hope there isn't a deluxe edition that comes out in a few months with more songs on it. So then this gets outdated very quick.
Yeah, I don't think that's their MO, but you never know these days.
I mean, it happened with 2 of the albums from this year that we reviewed recently. Now they have deluxe editions.
Yeah. I'm enthralled by this folder on their computer because the more I listen to this album, the more I wonder how much of this was throughout the past, not just the past 5 years, but throughout their latter career and, just stored away. Not so much, we talk about cutting room floor all the time, but not so much cutting room floor, but just stuff that they're like, all right, put that on the shelf and let's work on it.
Yeah. So I'll probably remove this, but that Miley Cyrus put out Something Beautiful Deluxe with 2 new songs.
Damn, I didn't know that.
And I've only heard one of them, but it's actually really good. I think it might be the best song on the whole project now. It's
No
called
shit.
yeah, it's called Secrets, and it features Mick Fleetwood and Lindsey Buckingham.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I'll
a
have to check
good
it.
song. And
Hell
the
yeah.
other one, I haven't heard it yet, but it's called Lockdown, and it features David Byrne.
Okay. Heard that. Wow.
Like,
Jesus.
see, that's what
Wow.
I'm saying. It's like we reviewed it, but now there's 2 new, very noteworthy new songs. They weren't throwaway.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea for an episode. Going through all the digital deluxes or the deluxe albums of the year, like in December, 1 week, and
Yeah,
just doing tracks off the albums that got re-releases. That's not a bad idea.
maybe we will,
Heard
because we
that.
gotta. I think Gaga put her Wednesday song on Mayhem.
Shit, heard.
the dead dance.
Yeah, I saw the, I've seen, like, video snippets of it, but I haven't listened to the whole jammy yet.
It's a fun song. It's a fun song.
Good old Gaga.
Yeah, but I hope the Deftones don't do that to us.
Yeah, I heard.
Or, well, we'll talk about the other one later. Never mind. So,
Heard.
it's the next one. So, yes. So, I'm ready to get into this one. This is a little new for me, but that's okay.
Yeah, let's get at it.
So, private music begins with My Mind is a Mountain. Really heavy opening track. It's been said to combine multiple eras of the band, which I can definitely hear that. Like, I hear parts of early Deftones, I hear mid Deftones, and this newer thing. And proof of the Deftones arguably being at the peak of their popularity, this song made it to number 2 on the Bubbling Under chart for Billboard, and that's the closest that the Deftones have ever gotten to the Hot 100.
I heard that.
I mean, that shows they've adapted to the streaming era, frankly.
Yeah.
So kudos to them for that, because not every band has been able to do that. As we've seen, they've adapted very well. This one gives me some real classic Metallica vibes, especially in the vocals.
Okay.
That's what I was getting from it. I think this is a short and sweet opener. Most of these songs are pretty short, with a couple of major exceptions. But we're gonna dive on into that. So I feel we've got the heaviness that I'm expecting, and we're off to a good start.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad. I don't know if it was documented like that or if it was just your opinion, but I'm glad that you touched on the different eras here because in my notes, I have Overture. And that is because this really, not only as an opener, but just as a Deftones song, for me, just screams their career. And it's really neat to hear. And I hope it was a conscious choice to put this at number 1 because of that, but I think it excels in this first spot because it really you could be a first-time listener and it'll let you know what you're about to experience and where this sound was coming from. So I dig this a lot. A one with not too many vocals in it, even though it sounds like it's saturated with vocals. It's a really neat opening tune. I dig it.
Yep, and we get a pretty seamless transition from that song into the next one, which is Locked Club. This song is a bit slower than the opener. This song, and this is something I'm gonna say with this album in general, I love a good transition, but this almost, to me, feels like a part 2 of the opener rather than its own individual song. And that's great for listening to a full album, but it does make it harder for this song to be a highlight. And spoiler alert, that's not the first time we're going to run into that on this album, where it's just hard for a song to do it with a transition, even though it's a smooth album listening experience. But even after multiple times, I just had a hard time not seeing this as like the slower part of the opener. It's not bad by any means. It's good when listening to it all the way straight through. I just have a hard time with it as an individual song, I guess.
No, I'm with you. And it looks like we're on the same page so far going through what this album is doing to us as listeners here. I have redundancy question mark early in my notes here, and it's not at this point in a negative sense, but it's more so I like the way you put it. It's almost, especially with that gapless transition, it's almost like the same song. Not necessarily for that one, but I've found myself a couple times in early listenings having to run to whatever I was playing it on to see if I was still in the same track. And this wasn't my example of it, but it does stand true to that same mindset here. That is something I don't want to pin or pigeonhole their sound at all, but it's something that they do well, and in staying in the same house there. And it works well, like you said, it works well for pacing on an album, but it's tough when you go just random track listening to Deftones sometimes. I think it doesn't strike me as odd because I had prior knowledge of their sound, a lot of it, but critically on listening to this album, it's a little tiny bit redundant there, if not a part two, like you said. Awesome sound, but again, it's related to the first track sound wise, and I feel like even composition wise, it doesn't kill the pacing, it doesn't take me out, but it definitely has a bit of the same sound there. So does its job as the number two, but looking for a little variation as we go through.
Yeah, I guess you could, when I just thought of this, in terms of not every song sounds the same, but they all definitely have a similar sound.
Yeah.
I think the Deftones are the hard rock equivalent of Lana Del Rey.
Okay.
I just thought of that analogy because
I can feel you there. I can feel you there. It's definitely their sound, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself on this album, but yeah, it definitely ended up being almost like a part two there.
yes, but the next song is an individual piece, I feel. This one is ecdysis. That word means shedding of the skin. So that's the metaphor we are going for here. This song was very much, to me, the most reminiscent of their 90s songs. And for my personal listening taste, when I listened to those I had a harder time connecting with the early stuff. And because of that, I felt like it's similar in sound to those songs. This song didn't speak to me quite as much. I didn't think it was bad, but I don't know. It just, if you like that early Deftones sound, if you want to hear your, be quiet and drive type song, this will do it for you, but that's just not for me.
Now we are on the same page here, as that was my first notes on this was 90s Deftones. But for me, that is the sound I love. So this was my first ear perk of this album, and I liked it I'm going to say within the first minute, because once I got that raw bass and snare, and then that guitar part came in like, doo, 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 I game over. I hit the heart right there and added it to the liked playlist. I dig where they go here, and I love it as a number three because for me, it really opens the album up again almost. This is a lot of their sound that I really dig, and that maybe it was the added effect of the nostalgia here inside of this sound. But I dig this track. If I had to nitpick, even at 3 minutes and 28 seconds, it goes just a tad bit long for me, but only in the fact of, and I might get killed for this, but there's not really a true hook or a true bridge here. So it ends up just being refrain, reverse, refrain, reverse. I'm sorry, refrain, verse. And that's me nitpicking, but I dig it. Great song, number three track. Really, really beautiful Deftones sound. This reminds me of seeing them live. It's just who they are, and I dig that. Chino blasting it out on this one, and I dig it.
Well, there you have it. If you like 90s Deftones, this song is for you. Next up, we have the first song that was written for this album, which is Infinite Source, one of the most streamed songs so far. And I can definitely see why. And I can see why this was a starting point. This is a strong rocker. And I can see why it would get the creative juices flowing. And I interpret their infinite source as being performing and the crowd. And so they were tapping into that when they did this song. And it really comes across, and it's very real coming from a group of seasoned musicians talking about their infinite source. So, early highlight for me. I'd say best so far.
Yeah, man, I dig this song. I dig this song. I'm so surprised that this is not a single from this album. For me, it is really radio ready. I feel like it's one of the most approachable songs here. I love this song. I really get down with it. The Infinite Source there, I agree with you. It's their music, it's their fans, it's their live performances. It's them, period. There's a couple times in it where they talk about their last bow and their last foray, and I hope that's not a foreshadowing of what's to come, because these guys are still putting out music like this. I really dig this, especially coming off Ecdysis. It keeps the vibe going and it keeps the energy going, so to speak, which is sometimes you don't really, or I don't really equate energy with Deftones. I mean, don't get me wrong, they murder your face and they rock out all the time, but as far as like upbeat tunes, so to speak, it can be few and far between, and this one keeps me going. Again, I'm gonna scream this from the roof, but I don't understand how this wasn't a single for this album.
Yeah, it still has a chance to be, and I don't disagree. We're gonna get to that a bit more. um,
Heard.
so there's that. Next up, we've got the longest track on the album. About at the album's midpoint, this song is Souvenir. Based on the length and the position, I'm going to say this is intended as the album's centerpiece. And honestly, this song gives me a lot of grunge vibes. And I like that sound. However, listening to this, I don't think that when you listen to the Deftones, I don't think the lyrics are the main reason people listen to the Deftones. I think people are listening to more so for the music, especially the riffs. And when it comes to a grunge song, remember, I'm a like Pearl Jam kind of grunge person. I do care about the lyrics. So in terms of that, I don't fully connect with this, but musically, it is a cool track. It has an almost ambient outro, despite there being plenty of riffs. This song, it takes you on a bit of a journey, and I like that there's a longer song in the middle of this, because a lot of modern albums don't have longer songs that use their space. This one definitely does. And I'm glad it's here. I'm not sure it's not my favorite song here. I'm not sure it's even in like the top tier quite, but I'm happy it's here.
Heard that. Number one note on this one is "We Ride" with the exclamation point. I dig this one. This song I play over and over and over again. Talk about using all its minutes to the fullest, even with a little bit of an ambient outro here. I love this song. I think it it really just takes you, like you said, on this trip, but it musically, it's almost perfect the way that it uses the highs and lows that the Deftones are so great at using. You know, sometimes Deftones song can throw a little glaze over my ears, so to speak, but this one just keeps me coming back for more. I can't say enough good stuff about this. Composition is there. The production, we haven't talked much about the production on this album, but it's top notch, especially for a whatever you want to call this. I always just say metal, but I guess alternative metal here. It's such a crisp, beautiful sound here, and it's handled with care. But yeah, man, We Ride. This is it's up there for me, which is wild to hear you say it might not be in your top five. I super dig this song.
Well, remember, we've got 6 more songs to go after this, so
Heard that.
and yeah, now we're on to track number 6, which is another seamless transition. This one is CXZ, only the X is capitalized. Not sure why that's the case, but that's what they did. I would say this is the most traditionally metal song here so far. I feel like it's pretty straight ahead, in terms of that. I mean, particularly with the vocals, I would say. That especially makes me feel that way. I mean, it's a cool song. I mean, it's short and sweet, like a if you want a good short metal song, it's fine. I do think as well paced as this is, we did just come off a very long song that'll take you somewhere, and then I don't know, it feels like a bit too much of a come down for me a bit. That might not be the right word, but
No, I hear you. This is a grower for me, and I'm with you on the fact that it's coming off of Souvenir, and it's a little bit different of a feel. But the reason why it's a grower for me is the more I listen to it, the more in a traditional album sense, and I couldn't find it, but I really feel like this is your side one closer here. And that's why it's a nice short and sweet banger. I think it is an accompaniment if I'm not reaching too far to Souvenir in the fact of its pacing and the way it's stationed here afterwards. It's not my favorite song from them, but I think it does a really good job here closing this side of the album, so to speak. I dig the sound on this one. I understand why you say it's the most or it feels like the most traditional metal to you. It definitely thrashes hard. This is a get in the pit and love someone type of song, but it's awesome in its own right. I'm not trying to downplay it. It does its job really well, especially if I'm correct and this closes out the traditional first side of the album.
yeah, I didn't oh, bad researcher here. I didn't look at how they did that.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I just tried looking for it again. I can't find the actual vinyl cut.
That probably is a very different listening experience than on stream because of the quick transitions.
Heard.
But it's funny you say love someone because that's what the next song's all about. Track 7. I think about you all the time. In case you can't tell, this is the most tender song on the album. It's straightforward. Like I said, I don't think lyrics are this band's primary selling point, but I feel like they get to the point with this one. Now, I know on Wikipedia, one of the genres this album is listed under is shoegaze. I'm guessing that this song is closest to that, whatever it may be. I'm not a shoegaze expert, I'm sorry. Need to study more of that. But I get the gaze part of this, but I will say production-wise, I think this one's a little too heavy on the reverb for me. I mean, in my network, I'm seeing people really dig this song, listening to it a lot. Like when I get on Facebook, this is when I see singled out often. And I can see why. It does stand out. Just, I do find, oof, like, is Jack Antonoff on the song? It's a lot of reverb.
I can see the shoegaze here a bunch. I mean, you got your ethereal and your heavy distortion. Dig the story on this one. And it's not often that I get to sit back and really, without concentrating on a Deftones song, really pick out what's going on lyrically. And I dig that here. Oof, hot tea take. This one drags a bit for me, and I understand it's a slower love song, and I understand maybe that's what it's meant to do. This one just doesn't necessarily hit the mark for me. I dig it, but it's not. It's not. I don't think it's gun to the head. I don't know if I have a gun to the head here, but this one, the first time I listened to it, I was like, "Oh, man, this is beautiful," and the more I listened to it, I was like, "Eh." So, hot tea take, this one wasn't one of my faves on the album. I, again, believe this is an opener to the second side, and I can see it in that right, but I would be a little bummed if I flipped over to get this. Yeah, I hate saying anything bad on the Deftones, but this one just didn't do it for me, and I keep trying to find a spot inside it, and Nah, it just doesn't do it to me. Maybe I'm not a shoegazer, but it just doesn't necessarily do it for me.
Well, they the next song is definitely not shoegazy at all. Milk of the Madonna. This is the second single from the album. Very cool title. I have high hopes for this one based on the title. Like looking at the track list, I think Milk of the Madonna is going to be my favorite song on the album. Spoiler alert, it is not. I talked earlier on, I felt like the songs almost led too well into each other earlier on. This one is it feels like a sucker punch after the last one. It's a huge shift. I like what they're going for here. I see the concept. Like we got the spiritual imagery, heavy backing track. I think that's a good recipe for a heavy rock song like this one. And I hope they do a music video for this song. I think there's a lot visually they could do with this. But it was a grower for me. Like, I was pretty let down at first, but this is it, kinda. It did grow on me, but also it just was a bit too much of a shift after the last track for me.
Yeah, I love that though. This was the punch in the face that I needed after the last track. Shout out to the big Abe Cunningham on this. Not that the drums haven't been stellar throughout this album, but I haven't touched them on purpose because his drum work in this song is ridiculous. I listened to it over and over again just for that, but I really dig the way this song rolls and the bridge that I look for some that I'm always looking for, but more so sometimes in the Deftones because they can be bridgeless. We get here in this wild, like somber break off that you almost think is the end of the song, and then we come back in and kick some more ass, so to speak. This one is exactly the punch I needed, and I dig it. I really dig it. This is off the second side. This is up there for me. So I'm definitely a fan of this one.
Yeah,
I
it's
can
a cool
definitely see why it's a single too.
yeah, even over Infinite Source.
I can see again, that's why I bitch about Infinite Source here, but I can see why it's a single. You don't think this is radio worthy?
I think it is. I think part of the reason I would have thought part of the reason it was a single was to make a video, but they haven't made a video yet.
I heard that.
I can see this on, like, 98 Rock or hear it more, so, like, I could hear this on, like, 98 Rock. Yeah, I
Oh
could.
yeah. I'm waiting for this to show up in a video game because
Okay,
I dig it.
that's
This is a pump up jam here.
you know more about video game music than I do. That's a realm in which I am not very versed at all. Uh, but no, it's a cool song. It was a grower for me. It's a cool track. Now, got another really short track, and we're getting to the end here almost with track 9. This is Cut Hands. Again, this might be the worst example of a song flowing into another too well to the extent that this one doesn't stand out, and it doesn't. It just feels like a transitional track more so than the other ones. Almost like an interlude, and it's not unpleasant to listen to, but as an individual song, I'll say this is my gun to the head. I coulda cut hands from this album, I think.
Woof, we have veered off the same track here. I dig this one. This one screams to me like a WWE theme song too, and that might be another reason I enjoy it, but it flows like that. I like the way they experimented here with that almost megaphone sounding vocal. I dig the rudimentary metal licks here because I feel like it's something you don't get from them a lot. You talked earlier about an early Metallica sound or a Metallica sound period. I get early metal here. I get roots metal here and I dig it. I don't need that for 6 minutes. I enjoy this in its 301 setting. But yeah, I dig this one. I dig this one a lot. I think it adds another I'm with you on the transition, but I think it's another I won't say full accompaniment here, but it's definitely a an addition. It adds to a Milk of the Madonna and keeps the vibe, I guess I'll use the word vibe here, going on. I really dig this one.
You looked at me when I said you looked like that was a hot tea take coming from me, but I don't know if it is or not.
I don't know, maybe I was just surprised because I think that's one of the more solid tunes on this second half.
Well, I mean, we only have 2 more songs to go on this second half.
I heard.
We're at the penultimate track now, which is Metal Dream, which is about the same length as Cut Hands. I feel like the band's kind of playing into their mythology a bit here. And that makes sense if you're doing it for as long as they have at this, but you should probably play into it a bit because that's what the listeners want to hear. Because they're looking to hear the Deftones and they're playing into the fact that they're the Deftones. They have been living a metal dream, for a long time now. And good for them. But yeah, and again, this one's just not a highlight for me. This one kind of falls flat beyond what I think they were trying to go for. Just okay, in my opinion.
I'm with you here, especially this late in the album at the penultimate track. It's hot tea take. Metal Dreams is a lullaby as far as Deftones goes. And on top of that, I'll even say it's like, man, I'm gonna sound like such a poser here, but it feels so much more mainstream than I'm used to on Deftones stuff, to the point of like it almost has a poppiness to it. And I don't know, man. I really tried to find a place inside of this too, and I just don't dig it. You're right. It falls flat, and there's been so much musicality on this album that at this point it feels like grasping at straws to finish off this album. And it's tough to hear because there's been some serious outings throughout this album. Um, yeah, man, it's okay at best for me on this one.
Yeah, this song's more dream than metal for you if it's a lullaby.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
But while getting into that metal dream, you could be departing the body, which is the final song on the album. This is another 6-minute track, so we're back to a longer tune again. Starts off very soft. I was like shocked for some. I was like, wait, what am I listening to? I thought this was a hard rock album. But that doesn't last too long. It builds into a full track very quickly. It held my attention again. This kind of put me back into the album because the previous 2 tracks bored me. This one grabbed my attention in a way that those songs really didn't. Realistically, this song grabbed my attention more than any other one on the album. I mean, this is a epic closing track, really strong ballad. And you mentioned the drums earlier. I think this is the best moment for drums on the album. They keep this track moving. And that needs to be done on a 6-minute plus. It's not 6-minute plus, but it's almost at that point on that song. I think the Deftones saved the best for last. This is a really cool song.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially as closer. We talk about doing its job. This one is such a really awesome epic closer. Save the best for last is a great way to put it. We get 6 minutes of pure Deftones here, and it doesn't stop. It uses it to the fullest throughout and really leaves us with a solid Deftones foundation the way this album started. And I look for that constantly. Are we getting a full circle here? Am I flipping it back over to side one and going at it again and coming out of Departing the Body? I am. I really enjoy this track, and I really enjoy it as a closing track. It's well done. Well done.
Yeah. What an end to the album.
Yeah, man.
Departing the body. That's what you do here. Now, hopefully they don't add any more tracks, because as of now, this is the 11 tracks that we get on private music. Cory, I know you were looking forward to doing this one, and you picked it. So with that, I'm anxious to hear what you grade this out.
Heard that. Deftones-private music. Was pleasantly not surprised. I was just really enjoyed what we got here. It is a cohesive album. I expect nothing less from Deftones. Trying not to use the rest of their catalog as a basis for any criticism here. I really think it's a strong outing. There's just a few missteps, but I don't have a gun to the head here. Oh, and that same coin, without a gun to the head, the only thing that it suffers from, in my opinion, is a tad bit of redundancy. But again, I know their catalog and I know their sound, so it's something I expect from them in a positive way inside of their sound. I thoroughly enjoy this one. I'm gonna give this. I'm a little bit under the Metacritics on this one. I'm gonna give this a B, almost a B plus. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't necessarily have a super standout track that blew my mind, and that's the reason why I'm in the realm of a B here.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I think cohesion is a strength and a weakness for this album. And primarily for that, I'm going to give it a B minus. The minus more so for me is I admit this isn't my musical sweet spot. It's a bit out of my comfort zone. But again, I had a hard time, as smooth of a listen as it was, I did have a hard time finding standout moments, and it was a grower for me. At first, I was like, I get the riffs on, but I'm not so sure about this.
I thought about you the whole time. I was like, I don't know how he's gonna be with this one, so I'm glad to hear that.
I want to be fair. I always want to go in with an open mind, and yep, that's where I'm at with this B minus. So, sorry, Metacritic, I'm not quite with you, but I'm higher than Pitchfork. They gave this like a 7.6.
I heard that. There you go. Yeah.
So,
Old Pitchfork. We just better hope Sabs doesn't hear this, so she's coming for both of us.
yeah. Yeah, really. What's your favorite track?
Infinite Source, all the way. I jam on it, man. Again, I hope it gets the love I think it deserves as far as a single, and I'd love to hear it pop up on the radio. I think it is it's that jam for me. I don't have to think. It's that jam for me on this album.
I'm Departing the Body. As I said, they saved the
Nice.
best for last. That's a really cool song.
Hell yeah.
I'm into that one.
Yeah, man. All right, Deftones done.
Yes. And well, if you've been listening to us long enough, the next announcement's not going to surprise you at all. As of the day we're recording this, in less than 2 weeks now, like a week and a half or so, Taylor Allison Swift is coming out with a new album. A bit quicker than I was expecting, actually, after the Eras tour. I wasn't expecting a new one quite so soon, but, well, she broke the internet by announcing that. It's called The Life of a Showgirl, and I'm very excited to dive into it. This is keeping me going. I'm going to the movies for the release party for it. I am very excited for a true pop album from Taylor Swift is what we'll be getting this time. Once again with 1989 producers, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Not to do much spoilers, but it looks like we're in store for a Poptober coming up here. And I'm down with that. I'm down with that, especially starting it off here.
Yeah, this is the way to do it with The Life of a Showgirl. I am excited. We'll see. We're gonna see what happens here. But you don't want to miss that
if you guys
one.
could only if you guys could only see how excited Charlie is, I love it.
No, this is the closer it gets, the more excited I get about
that.
this new Taylor Swift album.
Heck yeah.
Because she's going to be giving bops again, hopefully. I'm really excited. You don't want to miss it, so you got to follow us where you're listening to us. Nice rating and review. Follow us on social media. All our latest updates, including about the life of a showgirl. And until then, The fate of Ophelia will rest in your hands.
Peace!